Exclusive material. Hell for Russians. Created for Putin's army by members of the 118th Separate Mechanized Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine on the Zaporizhzhya front. Destroying as much military equipment, invaders, and manpower as possible is helped by the American self-propelled artillery unit Paladin. Meanwhile, our defenders say the aggressors fear these precisely accurate strikes, so they try to destroy the American equipment. But the Ukrainian army regularly gives a strong response to the enemy. Artillerymen of the 118th Brigade took TSN correspondent Kira Oves with them to the positions. Her exclusive report follows.
The self-propelled artillery unit Paladin operates around the clock on the occupiers. In the clouds of smoke after the shot, there are a few minutes to reload the gun. The crew attacks enemy positions.
We simply kill them. The occupiers who came to fight here will die here. They need to understand this. They damaged the BM-21, destroyed the D-20 gun and the ZIL or Ural.
To understand the work of the Paladin, the crew underwent training in Germany. The 34-year-old gun commander with the pseudonym Poliana says, the Russians are very afraid of this equipment, which strikes precisely and accurately.
It hits very well, most beautifully at night. Especially if you hit an ammunition depot. It's very beautiful. We have different shells and many types. This machine in general fires 14 types of ammunition.
Russians are trying to stop our warriors with large caliber weapons, guided aerial bombs, but mostly with drones. Against them, soldier Kevin holds an anti-drone gun missile. The warrior is 53 and has been working in the 118th Brigade for a month now.
An FPV or small reconnaissance plane comes into view, I lock onto it, hold onto the hook until it falls. I really love fishing and all this is very similar, you know, to fishing.
A 23-year-old warrior with the pseudonym student, after graduating from the military department and retraining as an artilleryman, voluntarily joined the army.
I can't watch videos, read the news that guys my age are dying. I am not the kind of person who will back down, leave the country and sit somewhere abroad. If there is to be a fight, everyone must fight.
The student says that Russians do not give up trying to advance in the Zaporizhzhya direction. But Ukrainian soldiers are ready to warmly welcome them with greetings from a Paladin.
If the occupiers advance, it will be a very big mistake for them. The biggest. It's better they don't do it. Turn around and go straight to Moscow. When we go out to work, believe me, the entire enemy army changes shoes on the fly. And sometimes they don't even have time because there's nowhere to hide. Their arms and legs fly apart. And so they deserve it.
Too.
The soldiers of the 118th Independent Mechanized Brigade say they are motivated to destroy the Russians to the last. After all, they set out to defend their homeland and the family waiting for them at home.
You know, the effectiveness of minefields, especially anti-personnel ones, was demonstrated by the offensive of the aggressors in the Rabotino area. Back then, the enemy, as they say, dug in and very meticulously mined the territory. More details in the material by Vitaly Afanasyev.
The Zaporizhzhya direction. Mark's group, under the cover of artillery and strike drones, begins to advance, pushing the occupiers onto a remotely mined field. At first, everything goes according to plan. Platoon by platoon, the occupiers, fleeing the battlefield, blow up on armored vehicles.
When the Mashy 1, their vehicles came by, they often stopped in Novopokopivka. At that time, through the efforts of our crew, 6 units were destroyed.
It's thanks to the mining.
Yes.
Then, Jackson says, homemade anti-personnel mines were very helpful, which they learned to drop correctly from drones, but to mine, there was no possibility. They needed dozens of times more. In turn, the occupiers, preparing for the advance of the armed forces of Ukraine, managed to mine every meter of land. And our fighters, advancing in the Robotine direction, very quickly ran into minefields.
They used it in combination with regular fortifications, a properly arranged fire system, correctly deployed anti-tank guided missiles and so on. But mines played a very important role.
But for the Air Force, they also play a significant role, both in offense and defense. especially when it comes to remote mining. Then it's possible to save the lives of sappers who no longer risk their lives laying explosive gifts under fire, but send them with robots if it's about anti-tank mines. Anti-personnel mines can be delivered by artillery fire, but they are not yet on the front. Sappers still set up anti-personnel barriers manually.
На мою думку, більш ефективні.
In my opinion, the most effective Western-made are claymores. Speaking of the Soviet model, it's Mankas. They have a similar operating principle to claymore. And Ozanks, which I think are not used in Western countries at all.
In the latest weapons package from the United States, anti-personnel mines were announced for the first time, which seem capable of stopping local assaults by the occupiers. The Americans do not specify the type, Buspila. But most military experts tend to believe that these will be highly effective mines called Adam. Our military is already somewhat familiar with these type of mines as they are packed in 155mm ram shell. Back in August, the heavy self-propelled artillery units received about 60,000 rams, but they were anti-tank mines. This time, evidently similar ones will come, but with anti-personnel mines.
There is no exact confirmation that it is about Adam. If it is indeed about it, then it refers to a 155mm artillery shell filled with 36 anti-personnel mines. Such a system allows for laying minefields at a distance of approximately 7.5 kilometers. If firing, for example, from a self-propelled howitzer M110, the area where these mines need to be laid is approximately 600 meters. This means that several munitions are required for dense mining to be fired at one target, at one zone, to reliably cover it.
The Pentagon does not specify what type of anti-personnel mines are included in the aid, but they emphasize that they are highly effective and will significantly slow down the advance of the Russians. The United States was reluctant to provide them for a long time, but after seeing that Russia uses them against Ukraine, almost everything except nuclear weapons, still decided. It is noteworthy that after this decision, politicians from certain countries immediately began to criticize the United States for transferring anti-personnel mines allegedly due to inhumanity.
It becomes disgusting when everyone for some reason remembers the bans for Ukraine but does not recall that Russia consistently uses the same anti-personnel mines with remote mining and without self-destruct mechanisms.
Moreover, after the state's decision to supply anti-personnel mines, some countries, including Finland, are seriously considering their effectiveness in war and are already planning to discuss withdrawing from the convention banning anti-personnel mines.
The situation has changed significantly since Finland abandoned anti-personnel mines and joined the Ottawa Convention in 2012. Now it is necessary to reconsider this issue.
In the meantime, it's hotter than ever on the front. The occupiers are advancing from all sides. We are losing people. American mines are expected here, but because the Russians are clearing the mines themselves. And they advance over their own corpses, stopping the meat assaults will not be an easy task.